So who is Bilal? Let's start with his parents first. We have his father, Rabah, who actually is Arab. And a lot of people are confused and surprised by this because they don't expect this part of the story. And his mother, Hamama, who is in fact Abyssinian. And so it's very interesting to have this discussion as to, well, if his father was Arab, why is it that he was a slave? And there's some discussion in the history books about was his father also a slave, or is it the fact that he had married a slave woman who is Hamama that made then Bilal born into slavery. As an Abyssinian, it says, some of the narrations state that she was actually a princess. And she was originally from, taken likely as captive, unfortunately, taken as a captive as a young girl, and became a slave. And in this period of time, it is said that Hamama was taken as captive in this period of time. And so then taken into slavery, and so Sayyidina Bilal is born into slavery, and he's considered a slave because the lineage of his mother, who is a slave. However, the fact that he has this royal, noble kind of background allows him internally to still have quite a bit of what we call, this internal honor, despite the fact that Quraysh saw him as a slave and treated him as such. And in fact, often Sayyidina Bilal's nickname, or the way he was referenced sometimes, was the son of Hamama, or sometimes the son of the black woman is how they would name him. Because as a slave, you lose not only your dignity, but you lose your name altogether. And we have this very interesting story or narration of Abu Bakr, who one time had a dispute with Bilal, Sayyidina Bilal, and in the heated moment called him, "O son of a black woman," which is very derogatory. And this hurt Sayyidina Bilal quite a bit, and he went to the Prophet ﷺ and complained about this and said, "This is what I was called." And the Prophet ﷺ was clearly and visibly upset by this. And he went to Abu Bakr and he said to him, "Is it true that this is what you called Sayyidina Bilal?" Targeting his mother and his race. And so now you could see that Abu Bakr realized that this is he did something wrong and this was not appropriate. And so, the exact narration, that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Oh, Abu Bakr, did you insult him by mentioning his mother? Indeed, you're a man who still has traces of jahiliyyah in you. Traces of that pre-Islamic age of ignorance still in you." And because of this, Abu Bakr was quite remorseful, very upset with himself that in the heated moment this came out, right? This was still inside of him. And he actually put his cheek onto the ground. He lowered himself and put his cheek onto the ground and said to Sayyidina Bilal, "I'm not going to get up off the ground until you step on my cheek with your foot. Because I am disgraced and you are the honorable one." And Sayyidina Bilal actually picked him up off the ground and forgave him. It's so difficult to tell this story, but I want you to think about what this means. He waits until high noon, meaning the peak of when the sun is the hottest. Now they're in a desert. The sand, if you've been in any sand desert climate, at the peak sun hour, it is hot, hot, hot. The sand itself, you can barely even walk on it. And he would take Sayyidina Bilal there, out on the hot sun, and take the boulders or the rocks and put them, massive boulder, and put them on his chest, demanding for him to renounce Islam. So not only is the big boulder, the rock, crushing his chest, but also his burning his back from the hot sand that's underneath him, of course, in the hot sun that's there. Torturing him and continuing to tell him to renounce his faith. But what does Sayyidina Bilal continue to say over and over? Yes, you know these famous words. It's very simple. He just says a very simple statement. Ahad, one. So eventually, Sayyidina Abu Bakr steps up. He has some money. And he says to Umayyah, "I will purchase him from you. Let me buy him." Now he knows, Islamically speaking, that people don't own people. But how do you get him out of the clutches of Umayyah? So he says, "I'll buy him." And Umayyah thinks, okay, maybe I've got the better end of the bargain here. This is a broken man anyway, and one who's causing me a lot of issues and trouble. So I'll sell him. Now, how much does Sayyidina Abu Bakr actually pay for him? Anyone know? No? No? He actually gives him an actual amount. Less. So we have, in what I have it as is ounces of gold. So he is bought in gold, but he's bought in 5 ounces of gold. And to that, Umayyah thinks he has the better end of the bargain, because he says to him, I would have sold him for just 1 ounce of gold. Like he's nothing to me. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr says, and to me, he's worth, I would have paid for him 100 ounces of gold. So you think you got a good bargain? It's us, the Muslims, who got the best end of this bargain. SubhanAllah. In this period of time, Abdullah ibn Zayd has a dream. And in the dream, he sees, right, the words of the Adhan. And so he goes and relates this to the Prophet ﷺ, and he tells him the dream that he saw. And so, interestingly here, the Prophet ﷺ calls Sayyidina Bilal, and he says, go stand next to Sayyidina Bilal, come with him, and teach him the words that you saw in the dream. Because he has a more beautiful voice, and he has a piercing, strong voice. And so it was the Prophet himself, ﷺ, who chose Sayyidina Bilal to say these words that we now today know as the Adhan, as the call to prayer. So this is the Prophet's choice himself, ﷺ. And so if you think about it, you have the Prophet ﷺ, think about the deeper messages here. He's literally taking the person who is at the lowest rung of society, the slave, former slave, and elevating him all the way up on top of the Kaaba to the minaret to say the words to call to Allah, the words of the Adhan. So here what you're doing is you're taking someone who the Meccan elite previously tortured, saw as nothing, as garbage, and literally reversing, or doing the ultimate reversal here of the social hierarchy, placing him at the top, literally at the minaret. So not only is it a physical, but it's a symbolic change of the social hierarchy that the Prophet ﷺ is doing here. And more, and more. Because in addition to this, there's another beautiful narration of the Prophet ﷺ, in addition to Sayyidina Bilal becoming the Muadhin of the Prophet ﷺ, the Muadhin, right? The call to prayer, and of course in all the years in Medina until the passing of the Prophet ﷺ, it's Sayyidina Bilal who calls the Adhan. So not only is that an immense honor, but in addition to it, there's a narration in which the Prophet ﷺ asks Sayyidina Bilal, and he says to him, what is it that you're doing that I can hear your footsteps in Jannah before my own? I mean, how is that? He asks him, ever since you accepted Islam, what is it that you have done? What is the most hopeful, best action that you have done, that the sound of your footsteps are in front of my own in Jannah, in front of the Prophet ﷺ?